Hey, I'm Gina. Welcome to the Oh, There's More podcast, a space to get real and go deep. No more just checking the boxes and going through the motions. It's time to live out the beautiful life that God has written for you. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the roots of our beliefs and behaviors and how getting curious when emotions arise can bring healing to even the deepest of roots. Today, we are going to have some fun, and you'll learn when I say that it's probably not what you initially think. My mission with this podcast is to just open the door for you so that you can get a view of things that maybe you haven't seen before. And today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the why behind some of the topics that I'm covering. Why are we even talking about these things? I'll give you a clue. It's just one word: roots. Roots are where something came from. There are roots to our behaviors. There are roots in the way that we think or how we interact with certain people or how we react. Every single time the root of a behavior or a belief has been revealed, a couple of things happen. First, just the unknown becoming known brings clarity and freedom in itself. Sometimes that is literally all you need to break free from whatever that thing is that's holding you back or affecting you. When you have that revelation, it's no longer a stumbling block for you. It's done. It's over with. Wow. Those are my favorite. You don't have to do any work. The moment it's revealed, it is done. You're just like, oh my gosh, I never realized that. And now that I do, it changes everything. The veil is torn, and now you get to see something that you didn't before. Or, as I like to say, the door was opened and now you can see. The other thing that happens when the root is revealed is that you now have the ability to address it. For example, if it's a belief that you have to control in this certain area or situation to prevent a certain undesirable outcome, you'll be able to see that, number one, let's be real, you don't actually control anything, but you'll see that what's happening is you're trying to protect yourself in an unhealthy way. And that just brings on more stress and anxiety than if we were to get honest about that area of struggle and ask God to help us figure out why we're trying to control in the first place. If we just ask God, would you show me the root of this? So I guess it kind of goes one of two ways. The root is revealed, bam, it's done, or it's revealed and now you have the opportunity to walk it out in a different way. We get to fight the pull of doing things our usual way and learn to respond differently, which I will totally admit it is not quite as fun. One area that roots have been kind of a big thing is in my parenting journey. Just looking at why I parent my kids the way that I parent them and realizing that a lot of it stems from roots of my childhood, both in how I was parented and then just how I was raised and what I experienced. And so something like that takes time. We have to practice responding in a different way. We have to work on that feeling that rises up inside when our kids do something that we don't like. And I just want to say that there's nothing wrong with you if you find yourself having to go through this process of relearning and figuring out how to respond instead of react. One of the things that I've learned is that God isn't just trying to change our behavior so that we're quote unquote good girls. He wants to change our heart, not just for the healing of our heart, but also for our own freedom. So if that means that we have to walk out a process in order for that to happen, then that's probably the route that we're going to end up taking. If we've got these maladaptive behaviors or ways of relating to people and communicating with people that stem from unhealthy roots, then there's going to be more work that has to be done. It's not just about being free from the addiction or the behavior. It's about healing from the root cause too. We aren't looking for behavior modification. That is not sustainable. It doesn't bring true healing, and we often end up just finding something else to take its place that may seem better, like diving headfirst into ministry or working really hard somewhere else to prove that you're worthy. After my second divorce, I knew sex outside of marriage was an absolute no for me. I would not be going down that road again because it hadn't ended well for the previous 20 years. And I was done with the outcome of me being alone and feeling abandoned again for the 100th time. Just that decision alone, though, was a behavior modification. The root of the behavior wasn't revealed yet. I had not had real deep understanding of why God doesn't want that for us, or why that was a choice that I was making. I just knew this isn't working for me. This is what God says, and so I'm going to follow that rule by behaving properly. And God was so faithful to show me over time so many areas where I had incorrect beliefs and deep hurts from my childhood and beyond that were causing me to make that decision. So if that means that we have to go through a process in order for the roots to be revealed and our hearts to be healed, then we're probably going to end up on the scenic route versus the immediate route. If we've got these maladaptive behaviors or ways of relating to people and communicating with people that stem from unhealthy roots, then there is going to be more work that has to be done. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means that God wants true, deep healing for you so that you don't have to keep going around the same mountain over and over and over again, or finding yourself in a struggle once again, although it may look different because your behavior is something different. After, the third, fourth, fifth time of like, why am I behaving this way? Why am I turning to food now? Why am I turning to this now? Why am I numbing myself with social media now? Why am I doing these other things? He will help reveal them so that we don't have to keep traveling around that same mountain where the root isn't being dug up. And I want to encourage you, it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it, because you're not going to walk around feeling the restriction and the heaviness and the frustration and all the things that these roots can bind us up in. Instead, you'll begin to walk in freedom in a way that you probably haven't experienced before. You'll feel like you can breathe, like you weigh 1,000 pounds less, and like the sun is shining. And this all starts with just getting curious when emotions come up. Those emotions are indicators, and they indicate that something needs to be addressed. Something needs to be looked at on a deeper level. So grab that emotions list that I have. I've mentioned it before in other episodes. You can find it on my website. It's an amazing tool that you can look at to help you decipher, what am I feeling right now? And then as you find those emotions on your emotion list, you can start to ask the questions that lead you along a path to reveal what the root is. And what I love about this is that typically if you're digging up weeds in a garden, you need to get the root of the weed, right? If you just pull the top off and the root is down there, it's going to grow back up again, right? And we have to dig sometimes really hard to get some of those roots out. But the beauty of this is that we actually don't have to dig. I would actually encourage you not to go digging. But what you can do is when you notice yourself having an emotional response that feels like, oh, that kind of feels like bigger than this situation is, or, oh, there's just something about my response right now that I feel like I need to just pause, or this response, I'm tired of having it. I would love to get to the bottom of it. So that emotion, that is that indicator, leads us down a path of getting to the root without going digging. The emotion came up. it was brought to the surface, and it's like an invitation from God. It's like an invitation where he's saying, hey, you know what, sweet girl, I want to help you through this. I want to help you to see what's going on right now so that you don't have to keep feeling this way, so that you don't have to keep reacting to things and feeling terrible. I mean, seriously, what a gift is it to have a loving Father who wants to help us so that we don't have to feel those really tough things all the time that are only there because there's something that either needs to be healed or a lie that needs to be revealed, or maybe both. And while it is a process to work through healing in this way, there is somewhat of an ease to it because we're not going and digging, we're not forcing things to happen, we're just working through it as they come up. We're working through it as the emotion bubbles up or the thoughts bubble up. That wonderful opportunity that God gives us is just another chance for us to find deeper healing and to be more fully who God created us to be in the first place. So let's walk through how this process of getting curious with emotions works. I'm someone who loves a good example, so I want to equip you with that so that you can take this practice into your own life. I'll get vulnerable and just share an experience I had last year where this process was super eye-opening and revealing in ways that I was honestly shocked by. So I was having some judgmental thoughts, which I knew weren't a good thing. I stopped what I was doing and I started to just get curious, and I asked God why I was thinking these things, and he revealed that it was because I felt like I was actually being judged. That kind of caught me off guard. I didn't know for a fact that that was even true, and I felt God ask me, what if it is true? Does it matter? And as this played out, I got down to this lie where I was believing that people thought that I was lazy, which I knew right away was not true. But the next part that was revealed to me hit me like a ton of bricks. God showed me that the label of lazy actually stemmed from the belief that I was not worth the air that I breathed or the space that I occupied. And because I was here in someone else's home, not proving that I was worthy of being here by doing something, I am a doer, it meant that I was in fact lazy. Wow. I didn't know where all of this was coming from or that it was even there. If anything, I've spent my whole life being a doer because it's what's gotten me seen, accepted, and made me feel loved. And now I'm in this living situation where people on the outside look in and probably do think that I'm lazy among who knows what else they want to think. They don't know the full story of why we're here or what God has even called me to do. They don't know that more days than not, I wrestle with wanting to force a way out of here to a place of our own. I spent a lifetime of making things happen, of being self-reliant, taking care of myself, and you can read between the lines there that was really just me being in a place where I trusted nobody except for myself, because that was the way that I could keep myself from getting hurt and not being let down by people again. So it's been a fight to not do that. So here I am sitting here being judgmental because unbeknownst to me, I've got narratives playing in my mind about the many ways that many people are judging me. When I said yes to selling our house and getting an RV, I think the last bit of forcing my life to happen the way that I wanted to went out the window. I submitted my life in that way to God. But it's been such a process to not feel those old things that stem from the old belief that I have to do in order to earn my place and to also keep myself safe and protected. So do you see how deep this can go? And the things that came out in this exchange weren't even things that I had any clue I was believing, yet they were shaping my thoughts and actions. Not being able to prove my worth felt like such a vulnerable place, and I had recognized that earlier, but I didn't realize the extent of it. I'm now in a place where I'm okay with other people not understanding this season in our lives, in reminding myself that God and I both know, and that's all that matters. The thought of people judging where we are and how we're living is no longer something that is anxiety inducing. Getting curious with emotions has been one of the biggest catalysts to my healing, and I believe it can be the same for you. It allows us to take back control of the truth and let that be what rules and reigns in our lives instead of the hidden lies that keep us stuck and broken and small. So don't be afraid. Get curious and let's destroy some roots. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a rating or review, and share it with your people. You can go to my website, ginapeak.com, to find extra resources and info. Until next time.